since even before the start of the Dubai World Cup Carnival back in 2004. South African trainers have been among the best at targeting their horses at Nadal Sheba and more recently Meydan. But how much do we really know about this country which has produced Mike de Kock, Michael Roberts and Variety Club? Probably not quite as much as we should, which is why I've travelled here to Durban in time for their biggest race of the year, the Vodacom Durban July, to find out a little bit more.
JJ wins the Alquad Sprint.
Variety Club, what a triumph. The first international success. Mbongi's going home a little the better class. Will Dell and Mbongi. JJ lunges at Rocket Man and JJ the jet plane.
Soft falling rain drawing away. Goes home and wins the NAF Joel Stakes.
The first thing we learned in South Africa is that it is rather a big place. As such, racing moves around the country according to the seasons. At the time of our visit, it was all about Durban in general and the Vodacom Durban July in particular. South Africa's most prestigious race brings thousands of people to the city for one of the country's biggest social and sporting occasions. But more on that later. First, we went behind the scenes to see how racing here operates at grassroots level. Welcome to the world famous Summerbelt training establishment on the outskirts of Durban. They've got around 300 acres here and facilities include an 1800 metre turf track and also sand tracks and poly tracks, so plenty for the 20 or so trainers that stable their horses here. And they include the likes of Mike de Kock, Brett Crawford and also Dennis Dreyer, so some of the very best of South African horses have been trained here over the years. Summervelt's horse population is set to swell significantly over the next few months, when around 500 horses arrive from the soon-to-close Clarewood track. When we arrived in the cool of the morning, there seemed to be horses everywhere, working on the tracks or circling in the walking rings, one of which is designated for each trainer. One such trainer is Brett Crawford, a former assistant to Mike de Kock. He has been training in his own name since 2001. Based in Cape Town, he brings a select band of horses to Summervelt each year, and his 12-strong team this time around included two Vodacom July contenders, Captain America and Futura. Still, racing here is a little bit new for our viewers, so just to explain how it works, you were telling me you're based in Cape Town, but you bring a select band of horses here to target these big races.
That's right. Cape Town is about 1,500 kilometres away from here, so it's not easy to travel horses in and out and raid horses. Unfortunately, we don't have aeroplanes and flights like you do in the rest of the world, so most of our horses have to travel by road. So, it takes the horses over 20 hours to get to Durban. So it's very difficult to raid. So we bring horses here, basically, my horses have been here since the middle of March, preparing for the season, and we'll go home at the end of July.
So it must be quite difficult, a big stable back home, deciding just which ones to bring.
Yeah, look, bottom line is we bring the horses that have had basically routes mapped out for them for the big races. So we've only got 12 horses here at the moment, but it's gone very well, and hopefully we can top it all on Saturday.
Training at Summervelt might lack the swimming pools, spas and horse walkers we are used to in Dubai, but Brett says he has everything he needs.
Summervelt for me is a very good training centre. You've got a variation of tracks, you've got fantastic grass facilities, so it's a pleasure to train here, and I think it's definitely one of the better training centres in the country.
I think it's definitely one of the prettiest training centres I've ever been to.
Yeah, Durban's this is our winter, so it's not that cold. It's a mild climate, so horses actually thrive when they come to Durban.
Another of Summervelt's resident stars is the mare Beach Beauty, a 4-time Group 1 winner who has in heart what she lacks in size. Trained by Dennis Dreyer, the 7-year-old seemed happy and relaxed on the eve of her attempt to win a second successive Grade 1 Garden Province Stakes. From the training track we moved to the nearby stables of Paul Lafferty, an ex-professional footballer who is based in Durban all year round. Keen to show us around the place, he introduced us to his top 2-year-old, Harry's son, contender for the Group 1 Golden Horseshoe Stakes. Having a horse trained in South Africa costs between 6,000 to 8,000 rand per month, around 2,000 to 3,000 dirhams, half of what you might pay in Dubai. Prize money, however, is somewhat inferior, although the Vodacom July packs a punch with a prize fund of over 3 million rand. That's in excess of 1 million dirhams. Another aspect of racing here in Durban is the South African Jockeys Academy. It's the only one in the country, and that means that pretty much every famous South African rider came through here at some stage. It's a very, very intensive programme for these youngsters who arrive here at the age of 16, and then they go through a 5-year residential programme. If you've gone through that, you've got a very, very good grounding to be a jockey. Names who've come through here include Kevin Shea and Anton Marcus, and Felix Kurtzy, in fact, is still here, but now as an instructor. Let's go back to school. The students enter the school at 16 years old and finish their academic studies there, as well as learning all they can about the art of race riding. The academy is run by Graham Bailey, who has been in charge since 2009 and who filled us in on how the system works.
It's a very intensive course. For anybody that's a little bit weak, they're certainly not going to survive. You've got to have a lot of courage. You certainly have to be brave dealing with the horses, and then you've got to have a lot of self-discipline. So it's an early morning start, 4 o'clock every morning, 6 days of the week, Monday through to Saturday, and your day normally finishes at around 5:30 with the horses, and then a bit of supper and a bit of studies thereafter, and off to bed, and the cycle starts again the next morning.
How many do you take each year, and of those, how many typically would go on and make it as professional jockeys?
Our intake in the last 5 years has ranged from 14 to 20. There is quite a high dropout rate. You have up to 50% dropping out. There are various reasons for that. One is that a lot of the kids just don't cope with the demands of the occupation. And then obviously some of the others, we have to ask them to leave because they just don't have the balance required, they don't have the strength required, and they just don't have the natural ability that we need to convert them into jockeys.
One of the Academy's former alumni is retired jockey Felix Kurtzy, a 3-time Durban July winner who also enjoyed huge success in Hong Kong, including with champion sprinter Silent Witness. He has returned to Durban as riding coach and will draw on his many years of experience in giving advice to the young wannabes. But it seemed too good an opportunity to pass up a chat with Felix. It's good to see you here, a bit of a surprise for me. I mean, you only quite recently retired. Was this an obvious next step?
Well, it wasn't. I didn't know what I was going to do next. Whatever it was going to be around horses, you know. But yeah, fortunately this kind of evolved, and I've been here 3 months now. So I hope that it goes well, you know, and I hope I can make some kind of contribution.
We saw you with the equisizer just coaching one of the apprentices, and you seem sort of very keen on building up their muscles. Is that sort of part of what it's all about?
Yeah, very much so. You know, I mean, when we came in, there seemed to be a bit of an issue with fitness. So we're working hard on that. The kids really need this, the technique and the fitness, and it's pretty intensive. You know, when we came in, we identified that straight away. So yeah, we're working hard. You've seen the analysis, a video analysis, and that sort of thing. And I'd like to do it all in a month, but unfortunately Rome wasn't built in a day, and you've got to be patient. And yeah, I'm learning that.
Things must have changed a lot since the days when you were an apprentice. It didn't have sort of nice video screens and things like that back then, I wouldn't have thought.
No, absolutely not. And it was a lot tougher. And the video replays were, you know, a lot more seldom. So we struggled to watch ourselves in the races. You could watch it at a replay at the next race meeting kind of thing, and then kind of see how bad you looked. But, you know, now with this technology, the kids have got such an opportunity to make quick advances if they want to. And sometimes motivation is also a problem, you know. You're dealing with a new generation. We were taught differently and had a lot more pressure put on us in a different way. and I think it worked pretty well in those days. So yes, things are different now, but as I say, with the technology, it makes things a lot more streamlined.
Clarewood Racecourse, Durban. Take a good look and commit it to memory, because by the time you watch this, it will have closed. Known as the Garden Course, Clarewood was built on reclaimed swampland and opened in 1921. Sadly, it was sold for redevelopment 2 years ago, and at the time of our visit, the training population there was preparing to move to nearby Summerfeld. Among those about to relocate was trainer Jeff Woodruff, who was busy putting the finishing touches to his Durban July runners, Rake's Chestnut and Triple Crown winning history maker Louis the King, who I got to meet. How big a race is this? Is this the sort of race your whole year builds up to? How does it sort of sit in the hierarchy?
Yeah, pretty much. I guess, you know, we have three what we think of like flagship races. You've got the Summer Cup in Joburg, which is a nice event, but it would be a 1/4 of this. You've got the Metropolitan in Cape Town, which is a race I like, I must say, because it's summery and it's a nice race to win. But it still doesn't quite measure up to the July. I guess if for Dubai terms, it would be the World Cup. It's the pinnacle race in South Africa. It's a celebrity type of a race, and everybody wants to win it.
And we should probably talk a bit about where we are right now, because this is soon, very sadly, I think, going to be consigned to history. We're undergoing a few changes with racing here.
Yeah, we're very upset. No, there didn't seem to be any consultation. I'm sure that some of the bigger players, owners in racing, could have made a plan maybe to buy this place and keep it going, because for me it just ruins the winter season for us, because we'll be forced now either to go to Summerfeld, which personally I don't think is much of an improvement in climate on Joburg, or Ashburton for that matter, because they're both quite high up and they get very cold. It's going to take our horses too long to come well. The Cape horses, I think, the same. And, for us it's a vital part of our Durban season gone. And I just, I don't know why nobody was consulted. It just seemed to get railroaded through, and the next thing we hear, we've got to be out of here by the end of July, I think. So it's it's gone.
There's nothing like getting a sneak preview. So the day before the Vodacom Durban July, we took our first look at Greyville, home to the great race since its inauguration back in 1897. It's now 24 hours before the first race is expected to go off on Vodacom Durban July Day, and we've come here for our first look at Greyville. As you can see and probably hear, the last minute preparations are just being put into place. There's an army of people here ensuring that everything is just right, because tomorrow is by far the biggest day of racing that they have here in Durban, and around 55,000 people are expected on course. Speaking of the course, the race will take place on this turf track, and the interesting thing about racing here in South Africa is that they don't water. You get what you're given. We are told though that there is expected to be some rain, so I think the going is probably going to be around good, maybe even softer than that, but at the moment it feels just a little bit on the far side of good to me, so hopefully no problems on that score. The track is clockwise, and we're told that the run-in, which is 450 metres, is actually quite short by South African standards, and it often produces a bunch finish, so one thing we can expect tomorrow is plenty of drama. Greyville is run by Gold Circle, whose Chief Operating Officer Graham Hawkins was able to tell me more about the history of Africa's biggest sporting event. You just said something lovely, which is it is to South Africa what the Melbourne Cup is to Australia.
Absolutely, the race that stops a nation. In South Africa, the Vodacom Durban July has a long and proud history, and obviously in recent times has become very much more internationalised, with most of South Africa's racing going out abroad. And so we're really keen that the international audiences understand the importance of the Vodacom Durban July on the South African racing calendar.
So anyone who's at home on Saturday afternoon, they are going to stop what they're doing, watch the race, maybe have a little investment?
I would think so, yes. It's far and away the biggest betting bonanza in South Africa. It's a huge sporting social event, the biggest in South Africa. It generated more income for the city of Durban in 2010 than did the World Cup fixtures here. So I think that's an indication of how big the Vodacom Durban July is, also from an economic perspective. So yes, there's office sweeps and all of those sort of things that happen around that are associated with the Vodacom Durban July. It is, unfortunately, sadly, one of the few races that are shown on our free-to-air broadcast channels, and 2.5 hours of coverage. So obviously everybody can participate and enjoy it, and it's just got bigger and bigger and better every year.
And looking back, how far back does it go and how did it start? Has it always been in the sort of current format?
Well, it started more than 100 years ago, over a different distance, but always here at Greyville. It's always been run on the first Saturday of July, with one exception. Again, 2010, we decided not to compete head-on with the World Cup when it was here in South Africa. And so for the very first time, the race was run on the last Saturday of July, when the World Cup was done and dusted.
Race day. Back to a rather busier Greyville, with the majority of the 50,000 strong crowd arriving on course well before the first race, which started at 11:30 a.m. This was definitely a marathon and not a sprint. Before the group race action got underway, we took the opportunity to find out more about racing in South Africa from a jockey's perspective, catching up with Sean Cormack, one of the country's most senior riders. Sean will be getting the leg up on Captain America in the big one and on Beach Beauty in the Garden Province. Does it feel very different to a normal race day?
Oh, listen, you know, the hype with the crowd and you know, the intenseness of the day, you know, it obviously livens you up a little bit more than your average meeting. Yeah, listen, it's a great day. It makes you a little bit more competitive. I know I should be 100% of the time, you know, every race meeting, but this day you definitely lift your game.
And is it the sort of race that you grow up watching and dream of riding in as a kid?
Yeah, when you first start off and you have a handful of race rides a year, you want to participate on the day, let alone in the big ones. And you know, I'm fortunate enough to have got to a position where I can be competitive in all the Group 1s on the day and enjoy it from a different side of the fence.
And just to explain a little bit how it works, because the top jockeys here, you sort of fly around the country and follow the Group 1 races.
Yes, I've got a slightly different setup to most of the guys here, because I've got a fairly big yard, and we will travel to Cape Town when it's the Cape season. We're obviously based in Durban, so we're on home ground for the Durban season, and then we go for the odd Group 1 in Johannesburg. But we don't actually go and base ourselves there. But Cape Town, we go and base ourselves there for 4 months. But you know, I get called up every now and again for other trainers, obviously, and other horses. Cape Town, Joburg, and occasionally to PE as well.
Racing here at Greyville is quite a unique experience. I don't think I've ever been to a track quite like it. Just to put you in the picture, racing here in South Africa is usually free, but they don't apparently get very big crowds for a normal fixture, particularly the night fixtures. They're looking at crowds of just sort of 3,000 or 4,000, whereas we're expecting around 50,000 here today for what is, as I've already said, the biggest day of racing, if not sport, in the whole of South Africa. Today they've got admission charges on all enclosures, and it will set you back 200 Rand to get into the grandstand enclosure, which seems to get you pretty much anywhere. 200 Rand is around sort of 90 dirhams, so I think really quite reasonable. And once you're in, there is an amazing array of food and drink options. There seems to be food everywhere. Everyone is having a good time. It's very, very relaxed, and everyone just seems delighted to be here. Some of the food was even being sold by a jockey. Not a usual occurrence. Walking around Greyville, bumped into a familiar face, Chris Chippy Taylor. Not riding today. What are you doing? Because it probably looks quite bizarre.
Celeste, my wife, is now the owner of Jameli Pizza Cones. It's a new venture that she started, and we're going to roll with it. I didn't have rides today, so I thought I'd help her out.
And just tell us what you've been doing, because obviously we know you very well from the Dubai days, but you moved back here quite a while ago.
Yeah, I think it was 2009 I moved back, started a family, got twin boys now. They're almost 2, and yeah, just looking for a new business, and Celeste managed to find this on our travels, and we're rolling with it, see how it goes.
But you are still riding, just reassure all your fans, you're keeping pretty busy in that department as well?
Yeah, just recently moved back to Durban after looking at other business opportunities. And just going to pick up once the season finishes in August, they'll pick up again.
We also saw enough fashion statements to put the catwalks of Paris to shame. One lady even opting to team her outfit with fluffy bedroom slippers. An interesting look. Back to the racing, and slippers of an entirely different kind. There's a lot of Super Saturdays in racing, but this one certainly stacks up there with the best of them. We've already had a Grade 3 and a Grade 2, and there are 4 Grade 1s still to come on what is an absolutely outstanding card. Next up is the Grade 1 for the fillies, for the youngsters. It's called the Golden Slipper. The slipper provided a win for one of the longest standing jockeys in the weighing room, former Dubai stalwart Wai Chung Marwing, who rode bilateral to victory for his trainer brother Waiho. Mike de Kock's horse Elboran C was just denied on the line in our first Grade 1, but he's got another chance here with Anjal, who's owned by His Highness Sheikh Hamdan bin Rashid Al Maktoum, who's had a lot of success with his horses in South Africa. This is another Grade 1, the Golden Horseshoe, this time for the 2-year-old colts. Sadly, this wasn't the day for Anjal, who flew home on the rail but could only manage 4th. Instead, some familiar colours graced the winner's enclosure. Africa Burns winning for owner Fred Krabbier, best known for his Dubai Golden Shaheen winning sprinter Rocketman. Absolutely packed parade ring and an electric atmosphere here at Durban, because the big one is up next, the biggest race in Africa, the Vodacom Durban July. Even after being here for 2 days, speaking to trainers, speaking to jockeys, I'm still none the wiser as to who I think is going to win. But I do think that Legislate is definitely the worthy favourite for this. You can just see him coming round behind us. Number 9, he's a beautiful looking horse. He's trained by Justin Snaith, and he's actually beaten a number of others in this field, including Captain America. So I'm siding with him, I think, over Louis the King, who we met the other day, who's already become a little bit of a favourite of ours. And there's Captain America as well, just gone round behind, a really huge, beautiful horse. As I said, very, very open. We could see a very close finish. The July is such a huge race, even Jacob Zuma, President of South Africa, graced the parade ring beforehand and was a hearty singer of the national anthem, which took place in an emotionally charged pre-race atmosphere. Then they were off for the 2014 running of the Vodacom Durban July.
The big showdown. Gates crash open to the roar of the crowd. Legislate waits in third. Espumanti scraping. Paint 3.5 off them. Telina's further back. White Line Fever Futura. In the fast lane, Cape Town Noir. King of Pain and Captain America, 9-10 lengths to make up. Louis the King's going to have to start up his engine. He's 10 lengths off the leader. Homeward bound in the Vodacom July, Wiley Hall by 2. Legislates and half the deficit, second and third. Espumanti Telina, Wiley Hall. Legislate now let loose at the 300-metre marker, and Legislate now takes on Wiley Hall. Half the deficit further back. Wiley Hall digs in. Legislate, they come together. Wiley Hall, Legislate's now alongside. Wiley Hall, Legislate. Futurist flying on the inside. Here it comes. Wiley Hall perhaps ahead.
We predicted a close finish, but perhaps not a controversial one. Richard Faree, on second past the post Legislate, objecting to the winner Wiley Hall, and there was a tense wait while the stewards deliberated. In a move that pleased favourite backers, Legislate was awarded the race. Heartbreak for the connections of Wiley Hall, but some compensation for Faree, who narrowly missed out on championship glory this season due to picking up an injury. It was the first win in the July for the powerhouse stable of Justin Snaith, and also the biggest ever success for co-owner Dennis Evans, whose previous landmark win came courtesy of his Singapore-based sprinter Atto in the Grade 1 Chris Flyer at Cranjing. I'm with one of the lucky owners involved with Legislate. Congratulations. I mean, this must be a terrific day for you.
Oh, it's super. It's wonderful. He's a very special horse, and it's nice to see him actually stamp it. He's his exceptional abilities are shown today, I think, in this race.
He really battled. I mean, we don't really want to go into the whole objection thing because your horse has been deemed the winner, and both of them really battled, didn't they? And that was, of course, why we had such a lot of bumping.
Yeah, tremendous race. I think it was a fair result at the end, but if it had gone against us, we would have accepted it as part of racing. There are lots of races for him to win coming up in the future, so special horse.
And how confident were you going in today? Because he'd beaten quite a lot of his chief rivals before.
Well, you know, that's a difficult question, really, because it depends on the individual. We've been in a few good races elsewhere, in Singapore and so on. I find that the expectancy rises, obviously, with the ability of the horse. And today, I was nervous. There's a new track, it's narrow, short run in. But he does have this wonderful ability. What stamps him as a really special horse, that at 1,800, 1,600 metres, he picks up and puts in a spurt. Today was a muddling sort of a race, slow beginning. He went to the front, slowed it down again. But he still managed to pick the speed up, and yeah, we're very happy.
We know the horse has picked up a bit of a knock straight away afterwards, but it sounds like it's superficial.
Well, at the moment, yeah, we've all heard about knocks and not being so. I just hope it's okay. They've strapped it, and as Justin said, they're going to take him back to the stable, and they'll probably have the vet look at it tomorrow.
And all being well, he's going to have a bit of a break now, is he?
Long rest. I mean, he's won 3-4 group races now, and I think he'll go away now until the Cape season and have a go at the Queen's Plate and then the Met. And then hopefully, all being well, we'll try for Dubai. We'll send him up to Dubai, to Maitacom.
Before we left Greyville, there was time to find out if Beach Beauty could end her remarkable career on a high and take out a second consecutive Garden Province Stakes. The little mare didn't let down her legion of fans, and jockey Sean Cormack produced a celebration that Mikel Barcelona would have been proud of, saluting the crowd well before the line. This has been my first experience of South African racing, and it has certainly exceeded my expectations. The big race, the Vodacom Durban July, didn't exactly end the way we all wanted it to. Nobody likes a big race to end up in the steward's room, but most people here on course seem to be agreed that Legislate was the best horse in the race, and it's probably the best result for international racing that it was him who eventually came out on top. Then the icing on the cake, definitely Beach Beauty's victory and that fantastic celebration from jockey Sean Cormack in our final Group 1, the Garden Province Stakes. It was her 17th career success, and she now goes off to stud. There's still a couple more races to come here, believe it or not, from Greyville, even though it's dark and really quite chilly, and we're told that the party will continue well into the early hours. This South African experience just keeps on getting better and better. Today we've travelled around 2 hours outside of Durban to come to one of South Africa's biggest breeding establishments. This is the beautiful Summerhill Stud, which is home to several stallions at the moment, many of which raced in Dubai. Their current roster includes Await the Dawn and also Golden Sword, who still holds the World Cup track record. It's a very unique place, and as we're about to find out, its CEO, Mick Goss, is quite a character. Summerhill has been a producer of top-class racehorses since the 1930s, and since that time it has sent out the winners of just about every major race on the South African racing calendar. Mick Goss first moved to Summerhill with his wife Cheryl in 1979. Since then, they have built it up to the major operation it is today. The stud also runs a school of excellence to develop young talent in the region. And it was inside here that we found some familiar silks, a tribute to Summerhill's links with the Maktoum family. The annual Open Day welcomed breeders and industry figures from all over the world, who braved the freezing temperatures as Summerhill paraded the stars of its 12-strong stallion roster.
Addo's going to take out the Chris Flyer. Addo wins it by a length and a half.
Summerhill has hosted this annual Stallion Day for 31 years. But this was the first time that Atto had been a part of it. The 2012 Chris Flyer Sprint winner is a new boy on the roster and was full of beans when presented to the crowd.
Golden Sword clear, 100 metres left to run. They won't catch Golden Sword. Golden Sword first.
Atto was followed out by Golden Sword, an ex-Mike de Kock trainee who will always hold the 2,000 metre to Peter track record at Meydan. A big hit so far with South African breeders. We even got to see a few of his foals, including one who definitely takes after Dad. Another ex-Meydan winner to stand at Summerhill is Await the Dawn, who also won Royal Ascot's Group 2 Hardwick Stakes. The son of Giant's Causeway has just completed his first season, covering 92 mares in a solid first book.
Brave Tin Soldier in front and he'll be too good.
Remember Brave Tin Soldier? A winner at Nadal back in 2009, he is now the #1 freshman sire by winners to runners ratio in South Africa. He was followed out by Mullins Bay, another to race for de Kock here in Dubai, where he finished second in the 2007 Godolphin Mile. After enjoying some traditional Zulu dancing and a spectacular lunch, I was warmed up enough to pin down the boss for a chat about his operations' close links with Dubai. The man himself, Mick Goss, joins us now. And first of all, thanks for inviting us. And let's just talk about some of the stallions, because so many are familiar to me. They raced at Meydan. Is that something you look for in your stallions? How does it work?
I think a big key here is the Mike de Kock yard, who've had so much success in Dubai. They've been a fertile hunting ground for us in terms of stallion prospects, and it helps to have someone on the ground who's able to tell you how good they are. And of course we've got a lot of people who like racing in Dubai, who are supporters of the farm. There was no inheritance here. Everything you see around you has come because of hard work, blood, sweat and sacrifice, and the supporters of people who had a bit of dosh, who've helped us along. So Dubai's a wonderful smorgasbord of the world gathering in Dubai at a particular time of the year. And we find that horses that come home from Dubai have got great track records here. So that's part of the reason why there's a concentration of that blood here.
So they're very popular with your breeders. People who send mares to you like the Dubai form and value it.
Well, that's the other thing, you see, because of the South African connection with Dubai and the fact that we see your racing all the time. We watch every yard of it. And so that helps in a sense for developing affinities between South Africa and horses that have raced there.
We can't talk about all the stallions, sadly, but we must touch on Atto, because he bounced up today, I think impressed everyone, and he's a new one for you, but he actually came from Singapore, of course.
I've got to say, when he came off the float, I didn't expect what I saw. And I didn't expect the temperament, because the Royal Academies can be a bit metallic. He's a beautifully balanced horse, he's got a wonderful mind, and he's a gorgeous specimen of a racehorse. And of course he has that 1200 to 1600 metre thing, which is a little bit of an obsession with Southern Hemisphere breeders. So he's got everything. He's the complete package.
Just while we were touching on Dubai earlier, of course, as well as breeding many of the horses we see there, you also race horses there, including Mbongi, who was one of my favourites, so I can't not ask you about him.
Well, I've been there with Mullins Bay. I've been there with several horses in my time. We've loved our racing in Dubai. It's some of the best racing in the world. And I have to say, it's a great thrill for South African horses to go out there, whether they're ours or whether they're somebody else's, it doesn't matter. Just the fact that there is such a powerful affinity between South Africa and the racing that happens there, and the fact that the horses can go from there to the rest of the world, has provided us with a stage from which to prove our horses to the rest of the world.
Durban's leading trainers, owners and breeders are understandably keen to promote South African racing and breeding to an international audience. However, they have one huge problem: export. In 2011, the European Union suspended horse exports from South Africa because of a breakout of the deadly African horse sickness disease. Horses can reach Europe, but they must take a roundabout route via Mauritius and face a long spell off the track. Liesl King, one of the country's leading racing journalists, clarified the issue.
To get a horse out of South Africa, it takes 6 months, during which that horse cannot train. He spends between 40 and 60 days in Cape Town, then 90 days in Mauritius, then another 30 days in England, and then only can they fly into the country of destination. So somebody like JJ the Jet Plane spent 5 months standing in quarantine, arrived 2 weeks before the Hong Kong sprint, and beat the best horses in the world. And that is quite extraordinary. So the same with Variety Club. And if our horses can perform at that level, going through a quarantine that no other country will even take on, can you imagine how good they'll be if they're allowed to go straight out after a normal quarantine?
When is that ban up, and will that change things completely, or could the ban potentially be extended?
The ban already has been extended. It ran out in May this year, and we had an inspection committee from the European Union, and they had some queries on the government veterinary side that they weren't happy with. Now, our government is apparently working on those, and we're hoping that the ban will be lifted in the near future. But for the time being, all our horses have to go the 6-month route via Mauritius.
Until these problems are solved, South African trainers, breeders and owners cannot effectively compete on the world stage. But it's not just them that is missing out. Racing fans the world over are being denied seeing the very best from this very special country. Summerhill signalled the end of our official tour in South Africa, although it would have been madness to leave without seeing some of the country's famous wildlife. The Springbok Lodge in the Nambiti Game Reserve provided us with 4 of Safari's big 5. And we even found some horses. Well, nearly. Durban. Amazing people, fantastic racing, superb.